Welcome back to Zero Gravity Live, your weightless weekly, monthly. I need to like readjust my brain every time. Gets me every time. Weightless weekly, monthly tech talk podcast, bringing all the latest discussions right to you. We're sponsored by Object First UPI, out of the box immutability, best storage for Veeam, and I am joined by two of my favorite people, Mr. Matt Price, Mr. Sterling Wilson. Hey, before we get into our stuff today, quick call out to our audience. Let us know where you're watching from. We always are curious where you're tuning in from. Put it in the chat. We'll give you some shout outs and let us know where you're tuning in from. Now, before we get into our topic, I'd like to play a little game on this show as per usual. What's in your office? Sterling, you got something you want to share with the class?
You know what? First of all, it's great to be back and absolutely have a little quick something to share, but it's really more of a wonderful announcement for myself. First,
and he froze.
Suspense. It's killing me.
I liked it. It was like right before he was actually going to say the thing that he was going to say. It's just Sterling frozen in time. If that is not the most doing it live I've ever seen.
Oh, that's epic. So while he gets his connection back, I would love to show something that's in my office, Anthony. So
I'd love to see it.
And this is a nostalgia item. So this kind of dates me, right? You know, it's funny because people always say you're showing your age, and absolutely. So recently when I went back to my parents' house in Southeast Alabama, we were going through some old things in a storage building, and I came across what looks like a regular gas pump. And this is an ancient from, I don't know what year, but it's actually a telephone.
Whoa.
And this is back when they had regular landlines. You would plug this into the giant, long telephone cable. I'm sure you guys remember those. That way you could walk all over the house with it. And this would actually ring, and you could make calls on this gas pump telephone. And I'm like, there's no way I'm selling this in a yard sale. This is going right on my desk.
Where's the earpiece mouthpiece on that?
So earpiece is right there in the top. You can see the holes. So the speaker is right behind there. Right. And then the microphone is this little hole. I don't know if it'll pick it up. You can see that tiny little hole, and that's where the mic is. So
literally walking around your house with a gas pump talking into it.
Right. But it's so funny. It's like, how far have we come where nobody has landlines anymore? And I was just like, I'm going to keep this artifact.
That's epic. I don't really have, my office is a museum of anime nerd collector nonsense. I guess I can point to, I do have a very new poster on display over here. It is RoboCop and his anatomy. So yes, technically I have a poster of a naked man just in my background for all to see, but a huge fan of the RoboCop movie, the first one specifically. The franchise is fine, but the original RoboCop, tremendous. And it's very cool to see the man in the suit, all of his nervous system and musculature side by side in rainbow fashion. So that's my latest get, and I absolutely love it.
And when people come into your office unexpected, that's what the sword is for back there, right?
That's right. That's right. Fun fact. So I've had that sword since I was like 15 years old. It's a master sword from Legend of Zelda. It is made of metal and it's very heavy, and it's not in any way, shape, or form anatomically correct. It's very, very long. Like, it looks short on the wall, but it is, I'm talking like this thing is like the size of a human, or just about the size of a human. And because it's metal and it's very heavy, it's like a Highlander sword. When I got it as a gift, my dad was so upset. He's like, no weapons in the house, all of this. Literally picks it up and manages to, just while holding it, smash the light and the fan in my bedroom.
Oh my God!
I'm like, maybe no weapons in the house because you can't handle it, Dad.
Maybe he was saying that from experience.
Yes, yeah. Never let your 6-foot-something father hold a Highlander sword in your bedroom when you're a teenager. Recipe for disaster. Did we get Sterling back? Is he here? Is he with us in the room?
I don't know. It looks like he's still setting up his audio. We may have to
to
come back to Sterling when he pops in. I think his whole house must have shook. I don't know.
The internet goblins are out in force today. Well, I think we're good enough to go ahead and jump right into the topic at hand. We were all there, and when Sterling gets back, we can hear his thoughts. So just a few weeks ago, Matt, you, I, Sterling, all of Object First was at VeeamON 2025 in San Diego, California. And I thought it'd be great for us just to get back together, kind of remind ourselves what happened there, and share with our viewers some of the VeeamON action. So
Yeah.
what was your thoughts on the event writ large this year?
Well, the first thing, the most obvious thing I have to call out is San Diego is beautiful. That
really
was the
is.
first time I had ever been to San Diego, California, and big shout out to people who live there. That is, if I could take my house and transplant it there, I would be happy to move, but I would never be able to afford to keep the lights on because it's very expensive out there. But tremendous weather, tremendous atmosphere, tremendous environment. You know, I would say overall, I've seen this over the past couple of VeeamONs, not just this one, but, you know, going back 3, 4, 5 years, you know, VeeamON was certainly a great show, huge opportunity for networking and Veeam users and partners to come in and see new tech and, you know, really just see what was out there in the space. And what I've noticed over the past couple of years, and it's probably no surprise, is there's way, way more security focused technologies showing up at these events than what has historically been there. And we're not talking just, you know, storage level security, but, you know, actual intercepting of malicious software and bad actors. So it's really interesting to see that evolution over the past couple of VeeamONs go from, you know, cut and dry, just hardware and software vendors to more of the AI driven, you know, we want to make sure that you're secure type vendors. And that's one of the things I noticed this year.
You know, it's a really interesting point. And I got to make sure my dyslexia doesn't betray me here. Is it SEIM? SEIM?
Yes, SEAM. Yeah.
Yes, every time. Well, it's so messed up because it's I before E except after C, or when it's in SEIM.
Right.
You know, that's the new rule. So I struggle as a grammatical person. If you're not plugged into a seam today, like you are just missing out. And that was so present at VeeamON. You know, our very own Jeff Burke, you know, the manager of the Object First Aces, gave a presentation all about some of the integrations between, you know, various ABIs and seams. And it really feels like, to your point, that like if you're not security aware or hooking into security operations, you are just missing the boat entirely. And that warms my heart a little bit because we've talked so much on this show specifically about the importance of security when it comes to data protection. And I think it's been one of those things where the industry has been a little hesitant to kind of fully buy in to this concept. But VeeamON proves that finally everyone's on board with it. If you're not there, you're not playing and you're not moving forward. So it was great to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And to the point, you know, I just wanted to bring this up. This is right off Veeam's website, right? Just the VeeamON recap. And one of the stats to me that is fairly eye-opening, just right at the top when they talk about the data resilience maturity model. You know, we always talk about, and certainly the stats are there to prove it, that 96% of ransomware attacks target backups. But look at the percent that's able to just meet RTOs and RPOs, regardless of ransomware. Right. So take the threat off the table and just look at expectations. 50% of organizations today are able to actually meet that. Like all things being, you know, equal, everything is fine. There's no security threats. There's no encryption. There's no ransomware. That's a pretty eye-opening stat that I wasn't aware of. So that's a huge opportunity to not only improve data security, but also just the ability to recover in a timely fashion.
Yeah, it's super scary just from a, you know, we actually put out some research in partnership with ESG right before VeeamON and 2 weeks before. And the sheer amount, you know, 96% Veeam, this corroborates what Veeam put out in their own research. 96% of ransomware attacks target the backup data, which horrifying, right? Like we know they know that that's where people go to recover. But then when you look at things like the RPOs, the RTOs that are out there today, one, I think, and we've talked about this a lot, Matt, you and I specifically on various shows like this and on other interviews. If people aren't testing their recovery plans, they don't have a recovery plan, right? Like I think it always slaps them in the face because they assume I've got an immutable backup. I've got my secure copy. I've got my cloud copy, whatever. Yeah, you have that. But if you don't know how it all plays when you're bringing it back, when you're running through the resetup process, you don't have
Yeah.
anything because all you have is just time lost trying to figure it
Yep.
out in real time. And there's so much risk for reinfection. There's so much risk for not having all the pieces you need to get it back up and running. Like testing is so crucial. And I truly believe that's how you drive that 50% number up.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, you know, there was a couple sessions out at VeeamON talking about real world scenarios where, you know, customers were hit with ransomware. And it's almost like a hurry up and slow down mentality before you just start going haywire with restores. Let's make sure we do this in the right
Yep.
coordinated fashion to make sure you're not restoring infected data right back into production, right? So it's much more than just having a backup plan, testing the backups for recovery. It's having the recovery plan and also doing test runs of that recovery plan to make sure you know when things go sideways, what exactly are you going to do? You know, and it's funny, Anthony, you and I did something a couple years back. It was really just you on there, but talking about first step, grab a coffee, like
Yeah.
pump the brakes, slow down. Let's figure out what exactly we're going to do to make sure we do this properly. So I think that's going to be critical is, you know, to make sure not only you're testing everything, including recovery, right? Because how many times have we heard DNS is always the problem? You know,
Right.
you may think everything is good because you can do a sure backup and verify your domain controller works and your DNS server, but what happens when it's live in production? Does it actually work? Can you actually communicate and resolve? So that's why you actually need to test those recovery plans.
It's always
He's
funny
back.
because the easiest thing to take out is your Active Directory. And people are
Yep.
like, well, it's just Active Directory. What does that matter? If you can't communicate with anyone else in your organization, you're on your own, right? Like,
That's
I hope
right.
you know their phone number. I hope you're still in a physical office location.
That's
Otherwise, you are
right.
hosed. Welcome back, Sterling. How's the internet out where you
Thank you
are?
very much. I certainly hope it's okay. Can you all hear me okay?
We
Sound
can hear
good,
you.
bro.
Okay, thank goodness. Glad to be back. Hopefully I didn't miss too
We're
much of
glad.
the awesome VeeamON recap here.
It's all good. We're just we're still in sort of the beginning phases, sort of reminiscing on some of the trends that we saw happen there. And I do think this is actually a good segue into probably my favorite thing that happened at VeeamON this year. And it's not just because it was an object first thing, but we had our very own VP of Sales, Harry Kurland, talk to some folks from Marysville, an
Hmm.
educational what was it there? I mean, they're a school. I forget where
Hmm.
they're located. I mean, obviously you can go check out the session. We've recorded it and it's available to watch. But that session, watching it, it was just under an hour in length. It walks you through the entire incident scenario of pre, during, post recovery of a ransomware attack on a school and hearing all like literally every gory detail of what the preparation looked like, what the recovery looked like, what it looked like when the actual incident happened. It happened like a Sunday, and they thought, you know, it was just a weird network outage. Nope, it was ransomware and how that impacted school on Monday. It is such a horrifying story, but it's also so interesting. Like you cannot look
Yeah.
away the entire time because the information's so pertinent. But hearing a customer go through this process, having Veeam, having Object First, being able to effectively recover and get back up and running, it was
Yeah.
it was as refreshing as it was harrowing, right? And like, you know,
Hmm.
that was truly my favorite Veeam moment of or Veeam moment because it illustrates exactly how you survive from this and how you take the stories of others, apply them to yourself, and go off and find success when these kind of things happen.
You know, a lot of customers really don't want to go online to actually tell everybody that they've been hacked or have gone through something or have been the victim of something. What really stuck out to me with this customer is they really wanted to get the word out. If it could happen to us, it could happen to anyone else. This
Right.
is what we're going through. There's an obvious collective there. This was a school system, and they really feel that other school systems can also benefit from this type of knowledge. It happens constantly. We know it's happening. And here was a customer speaking up. The best part about that story for me, not to call out anybody else, but everybody else was down except for Object First.
Yep.
Yeah. And
It's
one of the things that I always think about when this story comes up, and you know, I've been doing some editing on that video, and it really rings true when we talk about our little statement that says basically when all the secrets are known, OOTB and Object First is still secure. Like that never rings more true than scenarios like this, right? It's not trust us. It's not take our word for it. It's like all the steps that we've gone through with the NCC penetration testing. This is that personified, right? In real time. This is like, okay, they said if all the secrets were known, you're good, right? Here's a living testament to that. And to me, that really just connects the dots.
One of my favorite parts in their story is when the FBI gets involved and they're like, don't touch the OOTB. Because they were afraid that because the ransomware was still in their system, that somehow it would, because that was literally the last thing standing in their environment. Like if they mess with OOTB in any way, shape, or form, it might
Yeah.
one be infected, or two, them tampering with that could be, it was literally seen as evidence at a crime scene at that time. So like, you cannot touch this device because this is actual evidence at a crime scene. But we just love the fact that OOTB lived. I mean, as an organization, as Object First, like, thank God OOTB survived. But this is not the first story we've heard of this, right? Like, this is the public one that we can share with folks. But many of our customers have gone through similar scenarios where OOTB is the last thing standing in your environment.
Right.
Because like you said, when all secrets are known, all they can do is read the information, which is why encryption is so important, right? Always encrypt on the Veeam side and then have OOTB manage the immutability on its side. It's the only way to recover.
Totally agree. And, back to what you were talking about, Anthony, with Seam, I just wanted to throw this up there too. This was another big announcement I saw at VeeamON this year between a partnership of Veeam and CrowdStrike. And this is all focused on that integration. And to me, this is kind of, back to my point of the evolution of VeeamON over the past couple of years being more, security centric. This is a prime example. And you've got a lot of these use cases with AI and on the front end, right? Trying to stop it, trying to stop it before it infiltrates, before it encrypts. But let's be honest, you're never going to stop 100% of it. That's why it's so critical to have something like OOTB by Object First so that you don't have to worry about if it happens, what if, that data is recoverable. And, back to the example you were talking about with the school. I mean, prime example, you can implement all the firewalls, all the security protection you want on the front end, and certainly let's keep innovating there. But let's not forget the backup is your last line of defense. That's why these bad actors target it 96% of the time, because it's easy pickings, right? Because once they lock the backups out and then infiltrate the rest of the environment, they know the customer has no choice but to pay. And that's our mission, is to make sure no customer ever has to pay a ransom.
Agreed.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. There were some other pretty epic VeeamON moments as well. I think, Sterling, you had the opportunity to give a little presentation as well as share some announcements. What was that about?
Yeah, we actually had a pretty exciting week. We did actually a live stream directly from the show floor to announce our new consumption service. For everybody that is not familiar, it's a way that takes all the risk off of your hands and allows you to just pay exactly for the storage you need to back up your environment, and more importantly, make your environment as resilient as you need it to be. So we're really excited. We think this offering is very unique to us in the way that it makes it easy to consume, the way that it takes hardware as a headache off of the customers themselves, and really allows our customers to expand as they want, but also that our service provider partners can really double down and expand on their growth without the CapEx outlay. It's pretty exciting times.
It is. And I don't want you to give too much away, but next Zero Gravity Live episode on June 17th, we're going to do an entire deep dive on the brand new Object First consumption model, and we're going to cover a lot of information there. So if you have questions, be sure to tune into that upcoming episode and check out the whole thing. Or you can watch the video that Matt just brought up and shared.
Just had to give you a cameo there, Sterling.
I appreciate that. I was dropped off for a little while. I don't know whether we already covered this, but Matt was bringing up a really good point about how Let me take a step back. I am always talking about how it's been awesome to watch Veeam's growth and how Veeam is literally becoming a framework now. Didn't start
Mhm.
that way. It's where they
Yeah.
are now. And what Matt just had up is now they have a data resilience maturity model that is really built around some of the other players that is in that sphere as well. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to point that out, that we've been saying this for a while. Security touches everything. Backups, you have to land them in a highly secure place of storage, which is us,
Mhm.
but also the fact that the whole ecosystem has to rally around that in order to make that resilience there as well. I'm going to add two more letters into this, and I'm just going to throw back the hot potato: AI.
Oh no.
We heard a
Oh,
bunch
why did
about
you do it?
AI. Yes, you knew I was going to say it. From the anomaly detection, predictive alerts, contextual guidance on all types of things. Now we're AI, and AI.
Gotta say it at least 20 times or it didn't happen, right?
For sure.
So
I had the privilege of talking to a few different analysts at the event, as I normally do, and let me tell you, I'm just sick of them saying, "What's your AI story? How are you fitting in with the AI like, not everything needs to be AI these days. In fact, you know, I'm not trying to dig on Veeam in any way, shape, or form. I do think AI is appropriate. It's a good part of a lot of businesses conversations, but sometimes AI can be a monkey wrench in the
Yes.
situation, and it can hurt more than it can help. I think we've seen, I don't know if y'all had the chance to see when the attorney recently brought an AI lawyer to the courtroom and it
No.
kept litigating, and the judge is like, "You need to turn this off right now." Like, it's not
oh
always
my.
appropriate, y'all. We
All
don't
right,
need it
that's
in every
funny.
situation. Look up that
That's
clip if
really
you haven't
funny.
seen it. It is the
I have to check
weirdest,
that out.
most like surreal moment in history in the last few months. But
That's
i-
crazy.
it's it's unescapable. AI is coming for all of us.
When AI goes wrong, that's going to be like a new TV show now. We can kind of point that out.
That's
Oh, don't give
wild.
them ideas. Don't give them ideas.
So so totally beside the point. I'm gonna take a tangent real quick talking about AI. Like this is totally outside of the data protection world. But I was in Home Depot last night
Oh
and
no.
I was thinking, where AI would be incredibly useful. Think about when you go into Home Depot or Lowe's and you're on the nuts and bolts aisle and
Mhm.
you've got all those random things sitting in
Yeah.
there with no barcodes.
Yeah.
That's where AI would be brilliant. You go up to the register, you hold the thing up, it scans, detects, knows what it is, and rings it up for you. I'm like, brilliant. Let's use AI for that. Like that, I can get behind.
Oh, Matt, what's the matter? You don't like those little things, those little thing where you have to screw each screw in to see what it fits, and then you see the size, and then you can take the size up front and be. Oh, I
Dude,
And then
get you,
half of
I'm
them are
man.
like,
missing, and then the one you actually need, you finally find it, and then you go to the bin and they're sold out. What a lovely process that
uh,
whole engagement
I've
is.
got
All right, that's fair.
got
That's
such a
fair.
future in AI.
That's fair. That could work there. That could work. What was you all's favorite thing about literally being at VeeamON as a participant? Was there something that stuck out to you guys about the experience, or was there something different that you noticed that were last year? Just an
I'm gonna
open-ended
be
question.
really mean. I'm gonna be so mean
Okay,
right now. Prepare
do
yourself
it.
for how mean I'm about to be. So we
Oh
run
boy.
trivia in our booth, right? And I'll do the trivia questions. We've got about 100 questions, and if you get the most right over a session of 10 questions, you walk home with a super cool Lego kit. We were giving away Jabba's barge. It's a huge
Yeah.
4,500 piece kit, and we also gave away some Luke's landscape speeders, which I think was about 3,000 pieces. So like, these are nice prizes, right? And I try to make the questions difficult so people don't just everyone raise their hand at once. Try to get, who knows their stuff. And on one of the last sessions, I asked the question, in Lord of the Rings, who is the character who is nicknamed Strider? Now, if you've seen these movies or read these books, you know Strider is introduced very early on in the first movie. They use this nickname as they are introduced in their scene where they show up. It's not like this is a one-off piece of trivia. This is the easy gimme question. And VeeamON, I can say this amongst us, we're all nerds here, is a conference for nerds, right? Like, this is
Yes.
supposed to be the question that
Yes.
I have to struggle finding the person who gets it right. And I kid you not, y'all. 4 times the audience said Legolas. And I'm like, it wasn't Legolas the first time. It's certainly not going to be Legolas the fourth
The
time.
second-
You all are nerds, and you're making me question my own sanity here. Like, I literally felt my body convulsing as no one amongst like the 25 people playing trivia knew who Strider was,
Oh my
the
God.
primary protagonist of Lord of the Rings. It's
Oh my
not
God.
Frodo Baggins. Like, my disappointment is immeasurable. My shock, ununderstandable. I could not get over that, and it has stuck with me since the event. And now I just question everything. So that was my favorite VeeamON moment.
That's fair. That's fair. Dude, some of those questions were tough. What was there was
Right?
one where you said, what species has like evolved? What was it? Evolved
6
seven
times independently.
What in like forget it. I would never know something like that.
No.
Well, I want to separate, the nerds from the not nerds, but
That's fair.
when they're not getting the gimme questions, I'm like, come on, y'all, what's going on here?
Maybe next year we've got to filter them in difficulty levels.
Yeah.
Like
This is the
level
code red
100.
question. Prepare yourselves. It's hard,
Oh man.
What about
that's
you,
wild.
Matt?
I mean, I never win at Jeopardy. So every time I'm, surrounded by trivia questions, I'm like, okay, learn it. That way, maybe one of these days I'll have that useless knowledge where it shines. But I would fail. I would be terrible at Jeopardy. To me, Sterling, I think it, and maybe I said this while you were having the technical issues, but to me, it's watching the conference evolve to more of the data security focused event versus backup. And it's not that, backup isn't critical, but it's like there's so much more than backup nowadays. Yeah. And you see more and more of these vendors expanding their portfolio or even evolving their existing portfolio, focusing more around the security side of it, whether it's perimeter security or post-infiltration security. Like, what do we do? And, I really started seeing this with Veeam a couple versions ago when they started with Yara rules and they started with the secure restore where you can do like antivirus scanning against the data. So it's watching them evolve, even from talking about Veeam specifically, watching them evolve from then till now, like with partnerships with CrowdStrike and some of these others. I mean, it's really accelerating adoption of just the security focused mindset, which is critical. And I mean, we fit right into that, right? And nobody has to go take some sort of certification or degree to figure out how to use us to make sure that data is secure. So to me, that was a big takeaway. The other big thing, selfish plug for Object First, is previous year versus this year, just with our booth specifically, lot bigger presence, lot more, traffic, and most importantly, more people knew who we were and knew what we were about than the previous year. So seeing, UTB really gain traction in the space was really eye-opening.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. I would say we made the biggest splash there. At least it feels like we did.
We did. We definitely did. It's a good feeling.
Yeah, indeed.
What about you, Sterling?
I'd like to do it in two parts. Professionally, it was exactly what Matt just said. Seeing our company grow, just the maturity, not only of our messaging, but our delivery and the way we put together these types of events, I think causing the largest splash and feeling like we did definitely was just a prideful moment. The second part, the personal part, was being able to reconnect with all the colleagues that I've respected for so many years and seeing some of them be becoming so successful, not only within Veeam, but within the industry itself, and keeping those connections alive. Hearing that they respect us, hearing that they want to take us into more accounts, more places, more partners. They see more avenues for us to help them grow. So that personally just felt good being there as well. And I really enjoyed it. And Matt said in the beginning, I think this is right when I started having my technical difficulties, but San Diego, everybody knows that I spent half my time there, probably going to be more of my time there in the coming year. So it's like home to me. It is my second home. And I just really enjoyed it being like right there and was able to sort of, brag about the place and sort of show people around at some different spots. Oh, wait, guys, one more thing. Our party.
I'm glad someone said it.
Our party. It was the best.
That party was wild. And I mean that in every way, shape, and form of the word. I did not expect the party to be the way the party was.
It was awesome.
You had to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you definitely had to be there, and you had to get there in a rickshaw for sure.
I think we may or may not have some video being procured around that coming soon.
Right,
I
right,
can't wait
right.
for that clip, my friend.
I was so thrilled because part of the environment was a sake tasting, and there was a Japanese woman there who I actually got to practice a little bit of my Japanese with, and she had her own bottle that she made and like imported from Japan. It was delicious, so it was
Yes.
epic for me as someone who's not a big party goer. I still was
Yeah.
able to enjoy myself, so it's really
That's
awesome.
awesome.
I
That
have
is
one more
awesome.
thing I want to I shout out because I feel like I was pretty negative on mine, just calling out everyone for their nerd cred. Uh, you know, something that actually stood out to me, and this was like the moment I got to the conference area, is the presence of the community at VeeamON. And I'm talking aces, vanguards, legends. The first thing I saw when I went to registration was Rickatron with a microphone and a speaker on his belt, touring VeeamON first timers around, showing them where they could go, where
Yep.
the expo hall was. And it was like, it was very, almost like your Disney World, 1970. Rickatron's the tour guide taking people. And I was like, this is really nice. And that
Yeah.
was true the entire event. I saw
Yeah.
vanguards, legends, aces going up to people, helping them, giving them advice. Like they came up and talked to me. They gave me advice, feedback. Like it really feels like an event that has truly embraced the idea of community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is all business at the end of the day. This is all very much an event for people to, learn about solutions, buy solutions, plan for budget for future solutions, and to see so much goodwill and
Yeah.
education just being offered freely to people at the event to help them learn, to help them grow, to help them, know more about security was really nice. And I've never felt that way about this event before. Like there's been obviously community focus, but it was front and center for me. And it warmed my heart in a way. I loved to see that and feel that at this event.
That was a good call
Yeah.
out. That was a good call out. Veeam has done right by building their community and involving their
Yeah.
community and even reaping the benefits of the community in their solution. And that's something that we're growing here as well, right?
Shout outs Jeff Burke. I feel like he's, following in the shadows of giants. And this year we have 40 aces. I got to hang out with a few of them at VeeamON. They're
Whoa.
awesome
Yeah.
people. So like
Yeah.
it's really it's just nice. I feel like there's so much panic and direness to security and ransomware. And then like you have this community, which is very much an open source, open model. If you want to participate, if you want to help, you can. Like it's just great to see companies doing this today and putting it front and
Yeah.
center at events like this.
Agreed.
Yep.
Agreed.
All the things that you guys said, totally agree. And I feel like it's just a group of really good, like-minded people. So it was definitely nice to see all that, the camaraderie. To your point, Anthony, like, Rickatron going through and making sure people felt welcomed at home. That's a big part of the event, why it's so successful. So it was definitely good to see.
Yeah.
Really
for
is.
sure.
I think that's a good enough note to kind of wrap this up on, right? Like I want to see
Yep.
more of that next year. So real quick, one last around the horn, VeeamON 2026. I know it's probably going to be a little bit different event, but what's your predictions? What do you guys think you're going to see next year? I'll start
Ooh.
since this is I'm throwing it on you question. I think the we talked about the seams, talked about AI. I do really expect interconnectedness to be the
Yeah.
focus moving
Yeah.
forward. It's not just about Veeam anymore. It's about Veeam, CrowdStrike, Object First. It's about your firewall pro. Like everything has to fit together and it all has to be visible. And I truly see that being front and center on the announcements and the focus of the event. Sterling,
Yeah.
what about you?
I think next year is going to be the year of AI. Okay, I'll see myself out. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, we know AI is going to proliferate, but
Oh, God.
man, this is actually a tough question for me because I'm already talking about frameworks. I'm already seeing
Mhm.
things coming together. Man, I would tend to agree with what you already said, Anthony. I think we're going to continue to see not the different tools coalesce, but the different tools integrate a little more seamlessly, so that when a ransomware
Seamlessly.
happens, okay, I didn't do that on purpose, but that was pretty good. So your data is safe on the object first. But now here comes the orchestration, which moves it through the
Yeah.
rest of the architecture to make sure it's safe going back in as well. So I know I'm piggybacking on yours, but I really think you're spot on there, Matt.
Well, I mean, I don't have anything left to add. You guys have already taken AI and integration and seams and all
Just
the
say Linux
things.
a couple times.
Yeah, I mean Linux. Yeah, that's a good point. So I definitely see security is not going to slow down anytime soon. I mean, we talked about it at the very beginning of this stream, and I definitely think it's going to continue to accelerate into next year because the bad actors aren't slowing down either, right? And the
Right.
way that we've talked about in previous shows about the level of sophistication that some of these bad actors are incorporating with AI, with like literal, talking heads and, phone phishing and all this type of stuff. It's just scary to think about what next year and the next 3 years and the next 5 years are going to hold when it comes to malicious attacks. I mean, if we're already seeing somebody that can take AI, present a human, and like authorize that $1 million, whatever it was, transfer, and it go through, I mean, good grief, what's next, right? So
Scary.
I definitely think when you look at innovation from different companies and focus areas, it's got to be around data security because data is the lifeblood. We all know that, of the business. Reputation is important too. So minimizing downtime has never been more important. You can't be down for 2 or 3 weeks. A lot of businesses would go out of business if that were the case. So it's having the plan, testing the plan, having it ready to go, making sure timelines are what they need to be, making sure your data is secure on the backup side, landing it on object first OOTB as an example. All those things are going to continue to be absolutely mission critical. But just like you guys said, I see more integration coming, probably more, acquirements perhaps on the Veeam side with companies that deal in the security space. I could see that coming. You guys mentioned Linux. There'll be some interesting takes on, VeeamON Linux to kind of see how that expands and shifts the landscape. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think a lot of cool stuff will happen between now and then, and can't wait to talk about it.
That's a good point about the
Absolutely.
acquisitions. Really good point. Yeah, you're right. There are going to be some acquisitions. Don't know who,
Yeah.
I know they're going to be.
Absolutely. I love your statement, Matt. It reminds me of everyone has a plan until they get hit in the face. And we can just add buy ransomware. I think that's the new
Right.
that's the new saying. So
It's the truth.
That way we don't have
Well,
to
gentlemen-
pay Tyson royalties, right?
yeah, I
That's
think
right.
so. Yeah.
That's right.
That's the next white paper I'm going to put out is everyone has a plan until they're hit in the face by ransomware. Mike Tyson.
Perfect.
I
love it.
Well, gentlemen, it's always a privilege and pleasure to get to talk to you. I'm sure we'll be right back here at the same time next year or whenever the next Veeam event is. But until then, June 17th, I can't state this enough. We're going to be back talking all about consumption. If you've ever thought, what's there between CapEx and OpEx when it comes to storage? This is the episode you want to turn into. It's going to be a deep dive. We're going to help you understand not just how it works, but how to size for it, how it fits in your environment. Super educational. Hope you can be there. Thanks as always to my co-hosts, Matt and Sterling. Love you guys. It's always great being with you. And thanks to our audience, as always, for watching. Show's brought to you by Object First, who makes OOTB, out-of-the-box mutability, best storage for Veeam. Until next time, stay weightless, stay frictionless, stay zero gravity.